Right, so welcome back. Today we're going to do a full detailed list of all the African cichlids that I keep in my tank. So if you want to replicate something like this, you want some ideas for a stock list, stay tuned to the video. Right, so a few weeks back, one of you actually reached out to me, Joel, to create a video on a breakdown of all the species of fish that I've got in this tank, which I think is a really good idea. And in all honesty, I think it's long overdue on this system. We've got a good collection of fish in here now. They seem to get on relatively well. So stay tuned. We'll run through all the fish that I've got in here, and then hopefully it can help you build a stock list and think of something that you might be able to replicate in your tank and get your desired visual appeal from it. So we'll start with a couple of the big dudes because they're the ones that stand out the most. I have in this tank, I've got two Rostratuses. They're around 4 or 5 inches long. Really nice, beautiful fish. They can add a lot of appeal to your tank. They're really unique looking. And they're quite diverse in sort of colour patterns that they come in as well. So as you can see in my tank, I've got one Rostratus that has a really sort of dark accents to it, and then the other one that's really bright. Now, they're both male fish. They're both in sort of breeding colours as well. So it's not that one's coloured down and one's coloured up. They're just slightly different. So genetically, they must be different. They're showing different displays of colour. But they're really unique African cichlids, and I absolutely love them, which is why I've got two in this tank. Now, the plan is obviously when I get the 7-foot tank is to migrate the haplochromuses, the predator haps. So the common haps like the star sapphire, the blue dolphin, they can stay in this tank with the peacocks, but all my predator haps I'm going to move into the 7-foot. I'm getting away with stuff now, but I think in the future, the risk for it to cause a problem gets higher and higher as these predator haps get bigger. You might be able to tell if you've been watching the channel for a while, they grow a lot faster than the peacock cichlids do. So some of my predator haps in here now are absolutely dominating the tank. I don't have any deaths. No one's beating anybody up. So it's relatively, I'm getting away with it. It's a good community of fish. You know, nobody's getting bullied or picked on, but I just think it's a better environment to remove those haps and have them in their own tank, where they can be a bit more bullyish and obviously grow out a little bit better as well. But two Rostratuses are the first ones, one of my favourite African cichlids, and I would definitely recommend if you've got a 6-foot plus tank. Next is the redfin ballii. So I have one of these in my tank currently, and he's growing at quite a good rate now. When I first got this guy, he wasn't displaying a lot of colour. So he wasn't really a good example of this fish. He was quite dark. You couldn't really see the red on him. The blues were really died down. But I think now he's thickened up a bit and he's got a little bit bigger. He's starting to show more of that coloration that they're well known for. These can be really beautiful fish. So I think he's got a lot of potential to colour up in this tank. He's going to stay in here with the peacock cichlids because he is a common hap. He's not predatory. So I'm going to keep him in here and hopefully we can see him develop and show some really good colours. I think once I take the haps out of here, I'll really start seeing some of the peacocks and these common haps really start to develop because they've got quite a dominant demeanour, these predator haps. And I think it's really making some of the peacocks and common haps shy down from really exploding with colour a little bit. So I think once we transfer them over to another tank, we'll see hierarchies change and we'll really see them colour up. But the redfin ballii, otherwise known as a redfin kandango, really solid fish, really easy to keep, not a lot of aggression. They mix well with peacocks. They do mix well with predator haps as well. But one of my favourite fish, this one, really cool. Next is probably one of my favourite fish in the tank. And it pains me to say it a little bit because I used to have a big problem with OB peacock cichlids. I really didn't like them. I didn't like the science behind him, how they're made. But this yellow OB has really changed my opinion on the fish. He's got bags of character. His coloration is insane. So he's really bright yellow, which if you've watched my previous videos, you know is something that I'm crying out for in my tank. All these sunshine peacocks I've been getting that just colour down. I've had 2 golden peacocks that just colour down. I cannot get any yellow to pop in the tank. And this is the only fish that's producing it. So I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite fish. Loads of character, nice and dominant, really intricate patterns. So definitely would recommend the yellow OB peacock. I've got one regal blue peacock in here, and he is an absolute stunner. He is one of the prettiest fish in the tank. I think blue peacocks can be really overlooked because there's a lot of blue in African cichlids, whether it be in the body. So they can be really overlooked because they don't stand out all that much. But this guy is just metallic from head to toe, bright blue. He has got some little yellow accents that come through on the camera on his shoulder, but to the naked eye, you can't actually see those in the tank. He's just completely blue with a little red sort of accent along the anal fin. So he's actually my girlfriend's favourite fish, and even one of my own. So yeah, really good fish, really easy to keep. Peacocks are okay. I mean, all of them have more or less the same temperament. OBs can be a little bit more boisterous than your other peacocks, but they all tend to have the same temperament and get on well. You are going to have the odd ones that turn into murderers and start killing everything. Luckily, I've not had any fish like that in this tank yet. Everyone seems to get on well, but I think I've got the numbers right in the tank, and it's sort of a distraction. No one's getting really singled out and picked on. I've got 2 ruby red peacock cichlids. So one, we call him Tony Stark. He's my big one. He's the more dominant of the 2. Now when I got him, he was in full colour, full bloom. I bought him from the shop looking like this, and he's retained his colour in the tank. He had a bit of spunk to him as well. He was bossing some of the other fish about. So he had some real good signs of being a dominant fish. He had a lot of dominant traits. But now, I also had this other peacock in the tank from when he was quite young. Now, I ordered this guy online, and he was sold to me as a Eureka Red peacock cichlid, is what I ordered, and this guy's what I got. Now, he wasn't really in full bloom, so it's quite tough to tell what he was at first, but Eureka Reds, they usually have a little bit more of a laced fin. So the fins tend to be a little bit longer, whereas this guy didn't have him, so I was skeptical as to what he actually was. But turns out he was a ruby red. Anyway, he was a really tiny fish, really small. He's probably one of the least dominant and smallest peacocks in the tank. And now he's really bulked up. He's really starting to show a lot of red colour in the body as well. So he's getting very similar to Tony Stark, where he's becoming quite bright, and they're becoming 2 dominant red fish. But they tend to get along, and I think it's because I've had them in the tank together for quite a while. They're more familiar with one another, so they don't tend to battle it out as you would expect with 2 fish that are identical. Now I've got the classic electric blue RLE, or the electric blue hap. This guy's not doing so great, to be honest. So he used to be really flared up. He had that iceberg peak along the top of his body, and I've only just noticed, really taking a closer look, he looks a lot smaller than I ever remember him looking. This fish is one of the OGs in the tank, so he's been in here the longest, but since the move, it looks like he's really dulled down and lost weight. But these are good haps to get if you're thinking of mixing in with peacocks as well. So they mix really well with peacocks. They always get on fine with them. Well, touch wood. But I'd never tend to have any issues with these when I've mixed in with peacocks in the past. I have 3 blue dolphins in this tank. 2 are albinos. And then 1 is just your normal one. All 3 of them are male fish. So we're all going to get... If you've not seen blue dolphins before, these aren't at adult size yet. But what happens is as they get bigger, they grow this nuchal hump on the head, which is where they get the name dolphin from, because it's very dolphin-like. They get a big bulbous head, and they get big as well. So they become big, massive, Leviathan African cichlids. But when they get to that size, they look really cool, especially when you've got a group of them. As these get bigger, I may decide to move them into the Predator Hap tank and see how they get along, because I think they're going to really bulk up and take up a lot of space if I have all 3 of them in here. So I may even mix it up and just put the albino ones in there. But these albino ones as well, they add a real accent to your tank. So they're completely white. They've got no patterning on the body. So they give your tank a really nice look, especially when they get bigger. I don't know if you've ever seen these in adult size, the albino ones, but they're absolutely stunning. So I'm really excited to see all 3 of these fish turn into big whale-like fish in the tank and watch them swimming around. I have 2 VC10 haps. These are predator haps. These will get relatively large. Both of them aren't showing very dominant traits at the moment. They seem really coloured down. One of these was quite coloured up when I bought him, but he's died off when I put him into this tank. There's a reason I got 2, because the one I bought from the shop had a bright blue head. He was showing a lot of good signs, but then when I've introduced him into this tank, he's more or less turned the same colour as the other one. But these are really cool haps. You can get them in 2 different morphs. So you can get them in a thick lip variety, or you can just get your normal looking ones, which is what I've got here. But these get big, and when they start colouring up and they've got that white body with those black striations down it, really nice looking fish. This peacock is a little bit of a strange one. It's taken a while for this one to recover. So this is like an albino. It's either an albino ruby red or an albino eureka. I think it's a eureka. It did have long fins, but it got a bit beat up when I first put it into the tank. I've only just managed to start getting this fish eating. So for about 10 days, all this fish did was stay up in the corner by where the wave maker is. And when you drop food in the tank, it wasn't interested. It's still a little bit of a picky eater now. And it was so frail and fragile. I thought this would be the one fish that was guaranteed to die when I moved house, because of how fragile it was and the fact that it wasn't eating, that it had been beaten up. It looked really stressed out up in the corner when it was in the tank. So I was almost certain I was going to lose this one, but he managed to pull through. He has dropped a lot of colour. So when I bought this fish, it was absolutely stunning. It had bright red stripes, the white body, sort of like a pastel blue face. If it had held its colour, it would have been one of the best looking fish in this tank. So I'm hoping as time goes on, this one recovers, I can start getting the best out of it again and see it bloom to how it was when I first bought it. And then I've got 2 Apaches in here as well. One is a female. I've strip fry from one of these Apaches before. And the reason I don't want to get rid of the female and take it out of this tank is because it was it was one of the first 3 fish to go into this display. And yes, it was a juiced fish. So it had all the characteristics of a male. It had the big, thick Apache stripe, really metallic blue features. And then it lost its colour over a few weeks and ended up holding eggs. So you might have seen the older video where I've come back and there's babies in the tank. This was the fish. But I can't bring myself to get rid of it because it was one of the first ones in this display. This guy is one of my 2 personal favourites in the tank. So this is my star sapphire cichlid, and I have not seen one available in shops this around 3 or 4 inches plus ever since I've seen this one. So really hard fish to get hold of unless you're going to raise it from a small size. But I absolutely love this thing. And over time, the thing with these is it's an investment. They are a trophy African cichlid. This guy doesn't look like much now, but if you've ever seen these in their adult state, they are absolutely mind-blowing. You can see all these little chips he's starting to develop, and he's developing more and more and more as the weeks go on. But sooner or later, he's going to be absolutely covered in these little metallic chips, which is where they get the name Star Sapphire from. It just looks like loads of stars shining in the sky, and it's a really, really cool fish, which I would advise any African cichlid enthusiast to go out and buy, because they're absolutely stunning. And then I've got this one, which to me looks like an obliquedens. I actually found him in a fish shop. He was unlabeled, and he was in with a batch of mixed peacocks. But it's a really odd one because you can see that it's got egg spots. You can see it's showing some characteristics of being male. It's got male coloration on it. It's fairly aggressive. It fights with some of the bigger haps. Yet, I've seen this fish holding eggs, and I've pulled the fish out, took a look inside of its mouth, and it had eggs inside of its mouth. Which really shocked me because I was sure this fish was a male because of its behaviour, its coloration. But I'm not sure if it's a Malawi cichlid or a Victorian cichlid. It did end up swallowing the eggs because when I pulled it out to look at them, I think it got stressed and swallowed them. But it's a really puzzling fish. It can go from this where it has these male colorations, and then it can change and drop all its colour on and off. It's almost like it's changing its sex. It's dead weird. I don't know if anybody knows much about this fish, can tell me exactly what it is. Like I said, he was with a mixed batch of peacock cichlids in a garden centre. And I actually thought he was one of the brown eye haps at first, which is why I picked him up, but he's definitely not. So if you know what it is, drop it in the comments, and if you know why it might be looking male and holding eggs, whether it can do that, it'd be good to know. I have 2 red empresses in here. One is male, and I am skeptical as to whether this one is male or female. When I bought the bigger one, it did have that bright blue head. It's got some egg spots on the fins, but it's looking rather rounded. I struggle with the red empresses This smaller one was really coloured up at one point, and he had bags of colour, and he seemed a lot bigger than this as well. But it's almost like he's got smaller. I think this fish is a little bit unwell because he keeps getting a lesion on his eye, and his eye clouds up and then it heals and goes back to normal. As you can see now, it's a little bit cloudy, but it's getting better. I'm skeptical as to whether my lace fin catfish that I've got in this tank are pecking this guy at night when he's on the sandbed. So if you see the fish at night when they're on the sandbed, they sort of lie down and more or less still on there. And I'm wondering whether these catfish are coming out at night and having a little peck at him on his eye. But since he's had this problem with his eye, which is reoccurring, it keeps coming back. He's really lost all of his colour. He was one of the brightest fish in this tank at one point. He was the dominant fish. So all his colorations are absolutely exploded. But I don't know if he's being picked on by another fish or whether these things are pecking him at night. But this doesn't seem like a disease or a parasite to me. Because it clears up, it goes away, and then he'll be fine. And then another day he'll come back and he'll have like a little peck on his eye, like something's bit it. I don't think it's the eye biter, in all honesty. But it keeps reoccurring and he keeps getting a cloudy eye and then it clears up and heals up again. So I don't know what's going on with that fish. If you guys know, if you've got any advice on what that could be, because I'm not an expert in fish diseases, in all honesty. I find it really hard to differentiate between what's what. It's like I'm really paranoid about it. I can see a little spot on the fish and think I've got ick in a tank when I haven't. So I'm not an expert on fish diseases. So if any of you are, and you know what might be going on with this guy's eye, please drop it in the comments and let me know, because this is one of the OG fish. So if he has got something wrong with him, I'd like to get it sorted. Next is my Livingstone cichlid. So a Nimbochromis species, an ambush predator hap. In the wild, they will lie on the sandbed, play like a dead fish, and then snap fish up. He's a bit touch and go, this one. So he's coloured down at the moment, but when he wants to, he can flare up. So some days I can come down and he could be bright blue and be in breeding colours, and then other days he'll die down like this and he'll just be sort of your plain pattern across the body, classic Livingstone cichlid look. But he's a really cool fish. I think Nimbochromises get a little bit of unfair stick. So I've got 4 Nimbochromises in this tank. One is the Livingstone, one is the Venuestus, and then I have two Fuscos in here as well. Now, the Fuscos, these two fish, out of all 3 of the Nimbochromises, I think are the worst ones. So these are the ones that I've noticed have the more predatory tendencies. They tend to be a little bit more aggressive. They've got huge mouths, so they can swallow up any smaller fish you might have in your tank with ease. So do not put small fish in a tank with these Fuscos, because they will just engulf them like a snake. But these Fuscos tend to be the worst. The Livingstone and the Venuestus that I've got in here, they tend to be really placid, gentle fish. I mean, obviously, if you're going to be putting smaller fish, what they can fit in their mouths, it's going to be a different story. But they don't bully the peacocks and they don't bully the other haps. They keep to themselves and they're quite placid. But these Fuscos, these are the ones to watch. These can be a little bit nasty. And out of all the fish I've got in the tank, they tend to be, you know, in the top 3 for aggression and nastiness. I've also got this hap, a Spilinotus, and then I've got another different type of Spilinotus up at the top here. These are really cool. This one's absolutely solid. So, never have any issues with it. Never picks on other fish. Never gets picked on. Always holds its colour. So always has that bright yellow head, nice blue body, red fin at the bottom. Really solid fish. I love that one. And then my other one, wherever it's gone, there it is. This one was sold as a peacock as well. So I think some fish shops in the UK, African cichlids don't seem to be too much of a popular fish choice. I don't know why. Over in the US, you can get a lot more variety of haps. Some of these fish I've got in this tank, I've found really hard to get hold of. Because they don't, you know, a lot of fish shops are going to, some of them don't even sell African cichlids at all. But this is a really cool one. This is a hap. It's got a yellow belly, bright blue body. When I did get him, his colour was a lot more pumped up than this. But it looks like he's starting to bloom again. So you can see he lost all that yellow in the belly, went a really grey coloration. And now he's packing a bit of size on. Seems to be getting more confident in the tank. So I'm hoping that he flourishes fairly soon, because he was a stunning fish when I first got it. Really unique colour on it as well. We'll move on to some of the peacocks. So I've got a super red dragon blood in here, which isn't in full coloration. So he's not as coloured up as when I bought him, because he's one of the smaller fish that are in here. So I don't think he feels as dominant. That could change when we move the haps out. So we could get some more coloration out of here. I've also got my strawberry peacock, which was quite a small fish when I got this one. But he is the most dominant peacock cichlid in the tank, along with the yellow OB. He holds a lot of territory at the back, and he bosses a lot of the fish about. But I love this fish. He's got good coloration. He really pops. His patterning on his tail and his dorsal fin are insane. It's like it's drawn on. So there's no sort of blemishes in this fish whatsoever. It's a really beautiful example of a peacock cichlid. And he's got a lot of character and a lot of spunk as well. So I really like that one. I've got a couple of sulphur heads in here, which aren't showing great coloration at the moment. But again, these are smaller fish. So the smaller peacocks, you know, they will tend to colour down because they don't feel as dominant in the tank. So just because you're putting fish into a tank and they're losing the colour, that doesn't mean you've got a juiced fish. So that's what people have got to remember, is you can go out and buy peacocks from the shop and bring them home and introduce them into your display, and they can lose the coloration. And that isn't an opportunity to start pointing the finger at a shop and saying, juiced fish, juiced fish. That's not always the case. A lot of these fish, they colour up based on hierarchy. So where they sit in the hierarchy in the tank, how dominant they feel, affects the coloration of the fish. So just remember that. You're not always getting juiced fish. I've got a lot of peacocks I bought here, which were in full bloom, full coloration, in a tank full of fish their own size. Now, I've brought them back into my tank with fish that are bigger than them, especially with some of these big Rostratuses and the eye biter and stuff. It can be quite intimidating, so they can lose a lot of coloration. I have had juiced fish, but sometimes it's difficult to tell the difference between whether that fish is juiced or whether it's due to the hierarchy of the tank. But these smaller ones don't tend to be doing too well with the colour, which again I think will change when I take some of these bigger haps out and put them into the other tank. I've got a red shoulder, I've got an OB, there's a couple of sunshines in here as well, and then there is, let me find it, yeah, so I've got a Eureka Red in here too. So he's dropped down in coloration, I think because of the two bigger ruby reds that I've got, they did target him when I put him in the tank. So because he was red, they didn't like it. They went for him straight away and they pecked him down. And then I've got 2 golden peacocks that I've coloured down. I can't get yellow fish to colour up in this tank. It is so annoying. And then also as well, this is quite an interesting one, is I was sold this fish as an OB peacock in the shop, which was quite a joy, to be honest, because I knew what it was. So I picked up this OB eye biter. Now, I was skeptical whether this was male or female, and obviously I wanted an all-male tank. However, I wasn't too fussed with the OB eye biter. Reason being is, this eye biter that I've got in my tank, the big one, this is my favourite fish in here. I absolutely love the thing. He's got loads of character and he looks very unique. He's got great coloration. He really is just a trophy example of a Malawi eye biter. His coloration, his dominance, everything about him is just peak. He is the perfect fish. So I was thinking, if this is female, if they end up breeding, theoretically, I should get some nice fish out of that. Yeah, they might be OBs, but if we can get that OB pattern with the Malawi eye biter coloration and dominance, we could have some really nice looking fish out of that fry batch. So once I've got the cellar sorted and I can get some breeding tanks set up down there, what I'm going to try and do is breed these 2 fish and see what sort of fry I can get out of it. So I'm excited to do that once I've got the cellar sorted, which I'm in the progress of doing right now. But yeah, that's more or less all my fish. I've got the 2 lace fin catfish in here, which I might take out. I might get them in another setup. I might even put them in the Mbuna tank once the Mbuna tank's set up. So I might migrate those fish over to that one. I think the Mbunas will deal with them a little bit well. I'm a little bit put off by them because I think they might be looking at some of the fish as well at night. So we'll see how they get on with the Mbunas. But again, that's a smaller tank, so they might get a little bit too big for that tank. I don't know, but play around with things and see if we can make it work out anyway. But that's all my fish. I pretty much, just introduce them all, usually in groups of 3 or more, because that disperses the aggression when you first introduce fish into the tank. But I've got quite a good hierarchy because I make sure that I get fish that are similar sizes. I always look for dominant fish. So when you're in the shop, don't be put off by fish that are showing a little bit of aggression. It's usually a good sign. And it means they can hold their own when you take them out and put them into a different environment as well. So I look for fish that have got a little bit about them. I don't look for the ones that are quiet and placid. Try and get ones that have got a little bit of, spunk to them. It's a good sign. But I hope that is useful for everybody. It's a really good collection of fish. Ones that I've had my eye on my whole life of keeping peacock cichlids. I've dreamt of having a big community tank like this that really works and gels. And it's been one of my favourite tanks to keep. So I hope that gives you some ideas. Stick some of these down on your stock list. And then you should have, theoretically, you should have a nice looking tank. And then before we go, the Mbuna tank is very close to completion. I've got the stand built for it. I need to get some like a polystyrene sheet underneath, and then I need to stick some board on the back just to get the just so I've got a backboard on the stand, so I can hang like temperature controllers on it and things like that. But I said I was going to sump this, but I don't think there's enough room under the tank for a decent sump, in all honesty. So I'm gonna do a canister filter on this one, and then I think I'm gonna do a sump on the 7-footer instead. So this will be canister filters. I've got my eye on that new Aquil canister filter, which I've heard great reviews about. It's app controlled. built-in thermometer, built-in temperature thermostat on it, so it controls the temperature of your water. It's quite a nice looking canister filter. So, I mean, if you've got any canister filters that you might have used, that you've got great reviews on, that you think would be good for this Albino setup, drop them in the comments, because I'm really spoilt for choice and stuck for what I want to actually get on this tank to filter it. But it shouldn't be too long before we've got this set up and we've got some fish in it, and then we can start making some Albino videos as well. So if you're enjoying the videos, subscribe to the channel. There is loads lined up. We've got loads planned. We've got the 7-footer, which is arriving next month. The cellar's in progress. We're going to get a breeding rack and potentially some planted tanks down there as well. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos.